Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to this school board meeting on Tuesday, August the 2nd, 2022. The public is encouraged and welcome to address the school board at the hearing of citizens, either on an agenda item during the meeting or in general items after the meeting. Our board clerk, Kathy Tompkins, has collected the cards for our hearing of citizens, and when the board meeting begins, no more cards will be collected. We will call you forward at the appropriate time. Would you please stand now and pledge allegiance with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And that leads us into our superintendent's report. Dr. Asplin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a few items here to talk to you about or tell you about. First of all, I wanted to congratulate Steve Cantis. Where's Steve? He was just in here. Steve Cantis, he's being recognized by the Boys and Girls Club. He has worked over the years with the students at the Boys and Girls Club, the high school students, in the STAR program, students taking active roles. And he's done such a great job with that. And he's going to be recognized by the Boys and Girls Club on September the 9th. And I just want to say congratulations to Steve. He does such a great job with that program and with the students all year long. So congratulations to Steve. Also along those lines, the STAR group was here, right before the last board meeting. And our board members, thank you all for being involved in that with our students and asking them a lot of questions. I know they asked you a lot of questions as well, but it was a great conversation to hear what our students think and what they need. So thank you to the board for doing that a couple weeks ago. Also, we have the PLC professional development kickoff that we had on Wednesday and Thursday, I believe. Yes, Wednesday and Thursday this past week went really, really well. I want to thank the union for attending as well. Sid Quinn and Rex Ingrick, they were both there, and I appreciate their attendance. I know Karen, you and Tom were there, so thank you for being there as well. And we're creating a video. We'll have a video for next board meeting to just give you just a snapshot of what the kickoff was all about with our professional learning communities training days. We have two other videos today that I do want to show. One is the sustainability video, which is Goal 5 in our strategic plan. And this video showcases the partnership with Synergistic, which is all about energy usage and the footprint of our schools and how we can cut energy costs and use those dollars in different ways. So we're going to go ahead and show that video now. What if I told you we could save more than $5.7 million over the next 5 years and improve the health and efficiency of our Sarasota County school buildings? Well, through our partnership with Synergistic, we'll be able to achieve that and more. This partnership is truly an exciting opportunity for all of us to play a part in the betterment of our Sarasota County schools. I'm personally looking forward to seeing all the ways we'll be able to take these savings and pour it back into our students, employees, and schools as a whole.
For the first time ever, we have a sustainability goal as a key part of our strategic plan for the district. And that sustainability goal is focused on making sure we're doing everything we can in the operations side of the school district to keeping our environment green, making sure we're reducing our costs, and being environmentally sustainable. One of the key aspects of that program is through our utilities. We budget about $11 million a year in utilities here in the school district. And so wherever we can save on utilities, it's good for us, it's good for our budget, it's good for the community.
With that savings, the district can then take that and put it back to where it matters the most. Part of what we do is we go into the school sites kind of when no one else is around. That's one of our tasks. We kind of come around and look for those systems. We listen, we measure, we try to find things that maybe otherwise go unnoticed. The other piece of what we do is behavioral. So we try to make sure that not only are we making those systems run the way that they're supposed to, that people are being mindful of how they use energy.
So we need you to do your part as well to help us reach this sustainability goal. It could look like unplugging extra appliances, turning off your computer at the end of the day, or could be as easy as a flip of a switch. All right. Thank you to our communications department for making that video, and then also Jody Dumas and our operations department. We appreciate all the work they did on that as well. The next video is just a couple of minute video, and it has to do with safety and security. And we have Chief Oakes, who is the star of this video, and we want to just show everyone about our new student badging program. So if we could roll that.
Sarasota County Schools. Within Sarasota County Schools, the safety and security of our students, faculty, and staff is top priority, which is why we rank #1 for the safest school district in all of Florida. This year, I'm excited to share that for the first time, Sarasota County students will have standardized student ID badges customized to each child's school. These badges can be used to buy lunches in our cafeterias, check out materials for the media centers, can help identify the students on buses, and more. Our goal is to have all badges distributed to every student by this fall. We're excited for this new opportunity as we work to continuously improve the safety and security of every student within their school environment.
All right, so we are really looking forward to that, those badges, and moving forward with that this year. And I want to thank Chief Oakes and the police department for all their efforts in helping us with that going into next year. Couple of other items. First of all, since school is right around the corner here, the school year is right around the corner, wanted to remind everyone about registration. Want to encourage all parents and guardians, if they have not done so already, please make sure you register your first-time students, but also re-register existing students for the upcoming years. A reminder, the first day of school is Wednesday, August the 10th. Also, the district's free and reduced price meal benefit application is open, and we need to make sure that eligible families are encouraged to complete and submit their free and reduced price meal benefit application before the start of school. The USDA did not extend free meal waivers for this upcoming school year. So as a result, families will need to complete an application to receive breakfast and lunch for free or at a reduced price, and you could do that on the website. And then also, families, please make sure that you create a portal account. If you haven't done so already, that's a family access portal account. Please also consider checking your existing portal account to make sure that your information is up to date and correct in the portal. Another thing I wanted to just mention is how we're doing in HR with hiring. And so far, we have filled 440 instructional positions, but 140 of those were internal transfers. So we really have hired right at 300 folks from outside of our school district, or outside of the ones that we already have. So they could be in the school district, they could be out of state, all over. Then 148 school-based classified have been hired this year. 51 of those were internal transfers. So again, 100 from the outside. And then current vacancies right now, we still have right at 69 teacher vacancies. And we have, in the classified area, we have 94 classified vacancies, 30 of which are aides at Oak Park. Now, you know, at Oak Park, we have 104 aides at Oak Park, and we still have 30 of those to hire. So we're working on that. You know, one thing we did this year is we stopped the transfer process during the first week of July so that we could fill the empty seats. And I think we're doing it. We are in much better shape than last year, but we still have a lot of work to do So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we will have all these filled. And then the last item I wanted to mention was our food service department. This summer, we had 45 sites that were open in which we fed our students. In June, we fed students and had 71,524 meals served at 45 different sites. And then in July, 38,931 meals. And so I'm just very proud of our food and nutritional services department and Sarah Dan and your department doing such a great job feeding our students all summer. So thank you for that. And then the very last item, for those of you who want to attend the work session, the next work session is August the 17th. And the topics include the audit committee report, summer policy update from NEFEC. We have 8 or 9 policies to update. A district school grade and scores overview. We'll talk about those. The legislative platform discussion that we will begin. Career planning software that we are looking to purchase. Florida House update. And then, of course, the budget. So those are all the items. So we'll be here all day on the 17th in that work session talking about those topics. So with that, thank you very much, and that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Dr. Asplund. Those videos were great. Are they on our website so people can look at those?
They are. Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. That was a really good report, and glad to hear all the things that are going on. Tomorrow is the first day that teachers are back, so we're really getting ready for school next week. And that leads us to the hearing of citizens. At this point in the meeting, we're going to hear from citizens wishing to speak who have completely filled out and submitted a citizen's card. If your full name is not written on the card or you have failed to complete and sign the card, your name will not be called. Please speak to the board, not the audience. Furthermore, speakers addressing the school board shall not make remarks which are irrelevant to the business of the school board or which are abusive, threatening, defamatory, obscene, profane, or otherwise of a disorderly nature. As such, it is not a forum for attacking individual employees or school board members. Any such complaints should be submitted in writing to the superintendent or the board member. It's unlawful to disrupt or interfere with a school board meeting, and any such action may result in a misdemeanor or offense of the second degree at the discretion of the presiding officer pursuant to FS 1001.372(3), which for purposes of public comment tonight is me. Any individual who interferes with the expeditious or orderly process of this meeting will be removed. This is a business meeting of the school board, and the public expects that we conduct it in an orderly, efficient, effective, and dignified manner. We humbly ask that you act as though you were taught as a child. Be respectful of others and treat them as you would want to be treated. Finally, as public servants elected by the people of this county, we will listen with open minds and open hearts to your comments. We will not make comments. We respect your First Amendment right to freedom of speech, and as a citizen of this great country, you must understand that your rights are not absolute. So you are free to speak your mind, but you cannot defame an individual or yell fire in a crowded theater. With rights comes responsibilities. And so we begin. Mr. Edwards, would you call the first person, please?
We have 23 speakers tonight, so when I say you're on deck, I prefer that you are on deck, right, ready to make the exchange. We are in a 1-hour time frame to get these 23 speakers through. So Lisa Shore, Barbara Vaughn on deck.
My name is Lisa Schur. I'm the parent of a student in the district and will speak to agenda item number 8. Most of us have seen the statistics showing that the state of Florida needs to fill 9,000 education positions. The teacher shortage is not restricted to Florida, and we're seeing teacher shortages across the United States. We've heard anecdotal evidence of why the teachers are leaving the profession and about low teacher morale, but no one had heard directly from the teachers. We, the parents, a political committee devoted to public education candidates, commissioned a survey of all the Sarasota County teachers using SurveyMonkey, which is an app that allows the teachers to respond anonymously. Unfortunately, many teachers fear retribution and the loss of their jobs, so anonymity was required. The preliminary survey has received almost 300 survey responses so far. The survey is still open, and more responses are expected as the teachers return to school next week. Some of the survey highlights: 60% of our teachers have considered leaving the profession as a result of culture wars or recent legislation. 81% of respondents state that recent legislation and state intervention are having a negative impact on student outcomes and metrics. 91% believe that public education is under attack. Tonight you will hear from speakers who will read the actual survey questions and responses. The final question of the survey asks the teachers, what do you most want the public to know about the impact of the culture wars on your ability to do your job? The teachers answered this last question in their own words, and some of their comments will be read tonight. I urge you to listen to the words of our teachers. Public education is a pillar of our democracy. Our teachers are the foundation of our schools. Without a strong foundation, the schools and public education will crumble into dust.
Rhonda Bazzini on deck.
Good evening, I'm Barbara Vaughn. And I want to say, Father God, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for the many blessings you shower on us in this wonderful community. But we have to thank you most of all, Lord, for the children in our lives, whether they're our own children, our neighbors, stepchildren, adopted, fostered. However you bring children into our lives, Lord, we thank you. We praise you for these young people. We also thank you, Lord, for all of those who have influence on these young people, especially the teachers and especially the administrators in their schools. Lord, you know how important those jobs are, second only to the parents and the family, but second to the parents and the family. Lord, we know that it is your intention that parents parent their children, care for them, teach them, bring them to fulfilled adulthood. Lord, we also thank you for the number of local community restaurants that have teamed up with our schools and have offered our young people training and education opportunities. Lord, these are the kind of people in our community that make it such a great place to live. And we thank you for each one of them, Lord. I won't try to name them because I don't know them all and don't know their names. But we do thank you, Lord. And again, we thank you most of all for our dear children. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Diane Cotting on deck.
Good evening. My name is Rhonda Bazzini, and I'm a resident of Sarasota, and I will be addressing item 26 and 32. As a board, you have patiently presided over a panoply of public comments, ranging from complimentary, accusatory, even prayer. So I thought a little satire was in order. An acquaintance of mine from another state who has been keeping tabs on us sent me a poem I'd like to read. I call it Dr. Seuss for adults. The Great Snitchery. I'm Ron DeSantis, and I'm making a pitch. I'd like every school child to become a grand snitch. There's books and stuff out there that are really quite bad that might make some school kids feel awfully sad. Things like the Holocaust, slavery, and genocide are not tales our kiddies should have to abide. So turn in your teachers if they talk about these. I'm sure your parents will be very pleased. We will reward every snitch with a generous fee and ruin the teachers who might disagree. Oh, what an idea, New Gov Youngkin exclaimed. We'll do that too. We'll get our base folk inflamed. They love to storm meetings and threaten school boards. We'll give them more ammo, and we'll sharpen their swords. We know that the sword has more might than the pen, so this is a great way to get power again. Good grief, said Gov. Abbott. You guys are so sharp. I'm right with you. I don't mean to carp, but you borrowed this theme from the folks that are here, those giving abortion rights people great fear. And here's an addition. I think that it's new. Kids can turn in their parents, their grandparents too. For parents can make kids feel guilty, ashamed, make them embarrassed, make them feel blamed. This idea is basic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to caution the public, the last two speakers, I'm struggling to understand how they're on an agenda item. So I really need to say that these are agenda items that we're talking about. Otherwise, if it's not on the agenda, we're going to move everybody to the general comments. Okay, Diane Cotting, Norm Wirtz on deck.
Glasses. My name's Diane Cotting, and I'm a concerned citizen, and I'm here today to speak about the teachers who recently completed the survey. And the question I'm reading about is, how long have you been an educator?
Excuse me, I'm not, I would love to hear about the survey, but if it's not specific to an agenda item, we'll happily hear them at the general comments.
Okay.
I know that we've granted Barbara Vaughn some flexibility, and I'm trying to say that that will not be accommodated in the future. So I appreciate,
No discussion in the audience, please.
there's not that much on the agenda that will be happening. So if we get through this, we can happily listen to everybody in general comments. If that's where we're headed, because agenda item is the approval of the classified personnel report. So if you're speaking about the report, not a survey, I'm happy to hear that. But if you have a survey, and then that, I'm sorry, will have to go into general comments. It's fair for everybody. And I promise you that I will make sure that Ms. Vaughn has to pray on an agenda item. She cannot wander like she has been in the past.
Please sit down, Ms. Vaughn.
Ms. Vaughn, I've been gracious. Okay. So anyone that's filled out agenda item 8, I apologize. We're going to move you to general comments. Michelle Posey. Teresa DeWitt on deck.
Thank you. Michelle Posey, District 3. I have a few agenda items. One I wanted to discuss was agenda item 11. It's the Florida Center's contract, which we also looked at back on June 21st. It's for $50,000. This one is for Glen Ellen Elementary for mental health services. My question is, the original contract back on the 21st of June mentioned that there would be a baseline of $2,500 a month that would be paid regardless if services were rendered. And I still don't know if that was going to be paid to the actual mental health professional or if it goes to the Florida Center, because my thought is that might be at Glen Ellen. Maybe they didn't have anybody that needed services that month, and $2,500 is a lot of money to still give for basically not having to do services. So if we could touch on that when you guys are talking about agenda items, that'd be great. The other one was agenda item 26. I think, Dr. Asplin, we actually, you said that was going to change. On page 6, it says Schedule A. There's mentions of the FSBA, and you said that was going to change to the Florida Board Certified Behavioral Analyst. I'm just making sure that changes before you vote. So thank you for your response today in email. Agenda item 31, the psychoeducational assessments. It said it was going to be to fulfill fill a vacancy. So I didn't know if the $78,000 was an additional, or is it already in the budget and we're just changing the vendor that we're using. For Kearney Conditioning, I had an issue because the cover page says it's $150,000 or less, but the actual contract says not to exceed $100,000. So I want to know how much Kearney Conditioning is going to be on a financial impact. I also don't like that there's only one sentence giving the scope of work for that kind of money. I'd really like you to workshop Mr. Kearney and maybe even let the public meet him. There's also a couple of agenda items that don't have 3 bids, the tree removal as well as the $7.5 million for the architect for Welland Park High School. And that'll be all. Thank you.
John Wilson on deck.
Okay, Teresa DeWitt. I would like to discuss the Financial Advisory Committee. I'm not here to discuss individuals, but the actual process. I attended the last meeting of the school year at the Landing. My observations were that everyone was very nice and welcoming. Dr. Asplin went over a very detailed comparison of dollars and legislation. Dr. Asplin, I was confused as to why teachers' bonuses were not going to be given. I was also confused as to why the committee chair is listed with the Patterson Foundation. How are we allowing someone who has literature and a role in our district also to lead a financial committee? But if her personal information is not updated, if she could please change that, that would be appreciated. Also, too, I met an individual, a member, who was talking about the free and reduced lunches and was explaining a little bit more of the dynamics, and that was really nice to see that. Dr. Asplin, are you sure you submitted all the citizens who requested the screening of the existing committee? As a school board, I hope you can provide a policy procedure in selecting new members before you move forward today. I know that parents were left off the list, marked off the list, and then called to see if others wanted to join. The objective of this school board should be to make sure this committee is a functioning body, not an echo chamber for Dr. Asplin, his administrators, projects, and foundation's wish list. If this body only provides a 10,000-foot view and doesn't drill down on programs, who does, and is the committee really needed? I'm really looking forward to August 24th when we discuss the equity committee, and perhaps we can restructure and we can screen those committee members, or we can just disband it. I hope that all stakeholders attend a financial advisory committee like I did. Thank you.
Alexis Spiegelman on deck.
John Wilson, I'd like to talk about item 45, the Booker Middle School roof project. We are paying John Swift that he doesn't know how to put a roof on, and he can't even pull the roofing permits. So we're paying them $1 million to go ahead and just make sure that the roofer's doing the job. The roofing contractor can pull his own permit. All of the other subcontractors can go ahead and sign the sub form. But I look through here, it's $1 million for John Swift that doesn't know how to put a roof on. You know, there's job site supplies that a lot of these are included in the roofing. The roofing contractor should go ahead and supply these things, but then I see them as a different line item. So I would like to, my problem is this, our budget, we never trim the budget. If there's a budget problem, we just inject more into the budget. You know, we don't get rid of the problem. If this doesn't work, well, listen, we'll get some more stuff, we'll leave that, and we'll put it right in the budget and just blow it up even more. So I think that we need to start looking and saving money where we can. $1 million for somebody to tell another specialized contractor what to do. You know, this is what we see in the district.
Pam Truitt on deck.
Good evening. My name is Alexis Spiegelman, Moms for Liberty, Sarasota. I'm here to speak about agenda item number 10, the progression plan. One of the things that I've noticed is that your plan seems to follow Florida statute word for word until you get down to section 1003.42, section 2, subsection H, where it talks about the history of African Americans, and then it goes on. And if you look at the bullets, your plan inserts mental and emotional health as one of the comprehensive, age-appropriate, and developmentally appropriate K through 12 health education items. Another thing that veers from the statute is the fact that it states that you're supposed to have all of the curriculum posted online. And I also noted that you did not include this section under African American history that says students shall develop an understanding of the ramifications of prejudice, racism, and stereotyping on individual freedoms, and that classroom instruction and curriculum may not be used to indoctrinate or persuade students to a particular point of view inconsistent with the principles enumerated in subsection 3 or the state academic standards. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that, ask you, is if you'll be providing a link to the character development training, some of the extra things that you've mentioned here in the character development training, you've selected certain vendors. I just don't know how you selected those vendors. And I noticed that you have that it must be a secular character development vendor. I didn't notice that in the statute. I can reread it. But I wasn't sure how you even know what you're purchasing. I think that one of the common sense ways to resolve a lot of the questions that a lot of us have, which is a result of a lack of trust, is greater transparency, which you could accomplish through providing all of us a glimpse into what you're purchasing. Thank you.
Good evening, Pam Truitt, and I signed up only if you have questions for me regarding the Financial Advisory Committee appointments, which is much further down on the agenda.
She is at the end. Tell her, go ahead.
You go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Truitt. Yes, at the end, when we are ready to vote, or when the board is ready to vote, if you could come up and discuss that, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Madam Chair, that concludes public comments agenda items.
All right, so we're now moving into our consent agenda. Dr. Asplin, do we have any changes?
Yes, Madam Chair. Item number 8, addendum to the instructional/classified personnel report. Item number 12, agreement added for approval of agreements between Boys and Girls Club of Sarasota and DeSoto Counties and Sarasota County School Board. Item number 13 was moved to a future agenda. That's the approval of the agreement between Character Strong and Sarasota County School Board. And then item number 48, approval to appoint 3 new members to the Financial Advisory Committee. And just a note, a candidate has been withdrawn from consideration, Lisa Scheer.
All right. May I have a motion, please, for approval of the consent agenda?
I move approval of the consent agenda as amended.
Second? Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Now, I want to, oh, it did come up. Okay. Does everybody's come up? You might want to refresh, but it was down, and then it went up, and then it went down again, and it looks like it's up. Does everybody? Okay. Go ahead and vote, if you will, please.
I'm sorry, mine kicked me out. She has to sign in again.
Okay. So while Mrs. Ziegler is doing this, we'll have a voice vote. All those in favor of a... Oh, you're in? Okay, so let's please vote. And the motion carries unanimously. Next up, we have the new business, and we have only one item on new business. May I have a motion, please?
I move that we accept the names of Ashley Brown, Alicia Pirro-Bozeman, and Catherine Hawkins for the Financial Advisory Committee as recommended by the Financial Advisory Committee.
May I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. We have discussion. Ms. Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm looking to the credentials of Eric Robinson as a CPA and being a representative from South County and interested in that skill set and representation that crosses over the county as a whole, and would like to make a motion relative to.
Would you
including him.
hold off on that till we finish our discussion, please, ma'am?
Certainly.
Because I want Ms. Truitt to be able to talk to us as well.
Absolutely.
And then we'll do that.
Happy to. Thank
You may come over to the side, Ms. Truitt. Mr. Edwards.
I don't have a motion to make just yet, but since we're discussing, I'd like for the board to think about postponing the vote for these 3 new members until after the election. Ms. Rose and I, for our election, were granted the opportunity to name people to the audit committee from after we were elected, but before we were seated under the last chair. And I think that what's happened to the Financial Advisory Committee during election season is that it has attracted a whole political agenda, which concerns me. I apologize to Ms. Truitt for having been involved in the crossfire of that. Please accept my personal apologies. And it's not the intention, my thoughts are, it's not the intention for that committee to be political. It is, from my understanding, it's the oversight from the community for how our referendum dollars are spent, and is the community getting the return on the investment of their tax dollars, which has absolutely nothing to do with politics. So I would like to, for discussion of the board, have our board members consider postponing this conversation. I also recently, within the last 5 days, have spoken to several community members who did not realize that the nominations were open, and some that were a little cautious about wanting to submit their names due to the political nature of what transpired. And my personal feeling is I would like to open that back up to nominations. I'm sorry. I hope you hear where I'm coming from. I know you've put in a lot of hard work and time, but I just feel like it's time for a reset.
Well, before we get any further with that, and we have other people that would like to speak and have comments, I'd like to have Pam Truitt speak and tell us about the process that she used and what she sought in characteristics of people to join this committee.
Yes.
Because I know you put a lot of work, and we do thank you for all of that work, Pam. So would you give us a little lesson in your process and some of the decisions making that took place on the committee?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the school board, and Dr. Asplund. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm not here very often, but we are connected. This is the first time since I've been on the Financial Advisory Committee, and I was appointed in 2015. I have been on the advisory committee for the longest. I am the most senior veteran at this point. That we've had more applications than we've had openings. So that's refreshing. We also, and part of that was we had four senior members who left just about the same time, which was not anticipated. We had 4 new members come on. So as we were thinking about who would be appropriate, a good fit, the right personality to be on the Financial Advisory Committee, we developed some criteria around that. And so we used that criteria, and I included that in the memorandum, to recruit people. We've never, I'm not saying that we've done this the way you want to do it going forward, but we've never gone out and had kind of an open application. What we've done is, what's happened in the past is we've approached people we thought would be a good fit. In this case, I actually reached out to the Venice Chamber and the Sarasota Economic Development to get representation from the South County area, particularly the Northport area, the Venice area, because we always feel like we don't have strong representation from that area. The 3 people that the committee came together and said we believe these would be the best fit. fit our criteria, they're interested in it, and we have 2 CPAs and 1 attorney that we would be adding to the committee should you decide to move forward with this. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have about the process we went through. I put in the memorandum to you your charge to us in the resolution, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Well, why don't we continue with our questions, and perhaps some of these questions might be better suited with Ms. Truitt answering. Next up, Bridget Ziegler.
Well, first, I want to say thank you to Ms. Truitt. I think what's often time missed, and so your service to 2015, but many people forget that this is a volunteer position as a board-sanctioned board, and you guys have served us well, and I know your predecessor, Mr. Craner, and so I genuinely appreciate the work that you guys do. I know you take it very seriously and appreciate that it's been insulated from any other outside aspect outside of the focus that has been requested upon you. So thank you so much for that. So directionally, I am going to respond to a couple of things. It was interesting. I had a very almost verbatim, literally verbatim conversation with the superintendent during our one-on-one as I raised the exact issues, and as it pertained to. There are 2 committees that this board has as a board sanction, and just for anyone who's listening or watching, what that means is that they are quasi-governmental, they are board sanctioned, where that means this board will appoint those members, and they're open to sunshine. There's the whole litany aspect, but they're volunteer positions. They're very important and have served this community very well. What I had raised to the superintendent was, and previously a couple months ago, I had emailed the former CFO to see where we were with vacancies. And what I recall was, and although I went back and read the policy and the committee policy, and I believe it warrants some tweaking, is that ultimately the intention is such that it is there to respond to the community and be in another level to respond to the referendum dollars and how they're being utilized, and ensure that it's falling within the lines that are in that language. There is no doubt historically, and this predates me, that it has expanded substantially. It's so much so that the Financial Advisory Committee also weighed in when we had to evaluate whether or not we wanted to go to self-insured health insurance. So it's definitely grown in that area. But where I think is important, and the quagmire that I saw us kind of approaching today, or as we reached today, was that it was being compromised, and I think this word gets used a lot, political, but in my mind it was. And it had never been before. And so again, I genuinely thank you for your service, and I'm sorry that it has, if that at all braced itself upon you. Guys handled it incredibly gracefully. But what I think is important is, especially as we do foresee inevitably have a different makeup of a board come November, in my mind, the function of a board-sanctioned committee is such that each elected individual, no matter who fills those seats, would appoint a member that would represent their seat. And that term would mirror that particular seat. So then in the event there's an unexpected vacancy, because it is, again, a volunteer position, many of those people have families, their own lives, a private sector position. And so in the event there's a vacancy, that now is aligned to that specific district. And so that would allow that individual school board member to reappoint that. Yes, it would go through a function that you'd have to approve it. And I just think there's an adaptation that we would benefit from reviewing how we do it, so that it is not such that where we find ourselves today. And so I actually had brought this up to the superintendent about postponing it for the same reasons, but not to diminish the work that y'all have done. So I do now, after my long pontification, have a question for you. Is there an upcoming meeting that you all have scheduled before now in November?
Yes, we will meet again. We meet quarterly, and our next meeting, I believe, is August the 18th. Bonnie, is that right? It's August the 18th.
And how many members do you, so you have 4 vacancies?
We have 3 vacancies.
3 vacancies. Yes. So you have, okay.
So we have seven active members.
Okay. So my recommendation, as I mentioned to the superintendent during our one-on-one about a week and a half ago, would have been that we postpone out of the respect of the function of a board sanctioned committee, and it's not to diminish the work that you guys have done, but I do believe that it insulates the political elements, but also restores the function of it being a board sanctioned committee. And certainly I would recommend the board evaluate all of the recommendations you guys brought forward, not to make it your efforts not worthwhile. So I would support postponing this until the new board is in place.
Mrs. Brown.
I appreciate the work that the board has done in looking at what criteria should be needed and who might be able to do that, and actually going out and trying to recruit people to do that actually. I feel that if we postpone it until we have new members and they get their say, I think that is what would put politics back into this process. I think some politics tried to get in, and I know at least one person stepped back, but I know another name that's on there that would be, I think, would inject a lot of politics in it. And I would prefer that people are there, that the advisory committee had a chance to look over and make their recommendations to us. We could, of course, make move for an amendment to it, but I think if we delay it is where we will probably add more politics to it. And I know that they've got work to do with the new referendum. I mean, I would just like to go ahead with the names that they brought in, which I don't believe have any political background to them at all. They were judged on their merits. It was outside influences besides what they did that was bringing politics to it. And I feel that if we delay it, it's only going to be putting politics into it. I don't think the three names that I recommended have political leanings one way or another that on the board except to oversee this. So I think those names are without politics, and I would rather take them than to inject the politics of after the election, because it's a heated and I think kind of nasty election and sometimes that we're looking at right now, and I'd rather just put these people on the board without this. Of course, if there's openings that appear, any board member can put in a name that they say, this person would like to sit, or I'd like this person to sit on the advisory committee if there's an opening, or the next opening that comes up. They can always recommend someone within the 4 years that they're there. So I would rather vote on it today and not inject the politics of the upcoming election to it.
Well, I'm going to speak next before I call on other people because I haven't said anything. And I probably have the longest history with this committee of anybody sitting on this board, because I actually helped form this committee back in when I wasn't even on the school board, but helped when we did the first referendum in 2002. We, as a result of that, knew that we needed to be accountable to our community. And we set this up. And what was his name? Dr. Wyndham was our chair. And we set this committee up, and we had some procedures, but I can't remember exactly. I think it was more like who would be great in the community, who were our community leaders, who had been involved in the referendum, who bought it, who was, interested, invested in making sure that we provided the arts, the longer school day and so forth, and that was how the committee came about. And then when Dr. Wyndham stepped down, John Craner came in, who's a wonderful, wonderful man, and John Craner led this committee for a while, and then now Pam has stepped forward doing a beautiful job. The numbers were never decided on by the school board. We didn't have a school board member choose a member, I don't think. I think it was always done by people coming forward, talking to the committee, and then we would vote on it. But we never workshopped it. We never did any of that. I, too, believe that these three people were vetted pretty carefully by the committee members, and They do have connections in South County, and they are credible and very proficient professional individuals who are willing to do the work and spend the time. There's always a chance that we would have other members that might not stay on the committee for a lot longer time. I know Pam keeps saying she'd like to get off the committee at some point, but we're not letting you do that yet. But at any rate, I would like to see us go forward with these three names as well. It doesn't seem that that's the will of the board, but I would also like to see us go through, because I think these three people are really here to do what they can do for the good of making sure our committee knows what's happening with referendum dollars and works to make sure that they present us every year. They come before us and they give us an overview of how well we're spending the money and the fact that it is accountable to that committee and that organization. So I guess we have a motion and a second. I'll continue with the other people that want to say something.
I don't believe a motion has been made unless I missed something. I don't think there's a motion.
The motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And a second is on the table. We're discussing.
I forgot about that. Thank you.
And so we get long-winded sometimes. It's easy to forget. So next, I'm going to call on Dr. Asplin to say something, and then I'll call on you, Karen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to just bring up the fact that, the policy or procedure that is used has been around for a while. And so if the board does indeed choose to postpone, I would recommend a workshop to talk about changing the process or procedures before a vote occurs again. So just wanted to throw that out there. So there would need to be much discussion about that and changing those procedures before we move forward with that.
And we have more procedures with the Internal Audit Committee, and I do chair that at this current time. So the Internal Audit Committee, we did each choose a board. Each board member did choose a person to be on that committee, and we could look at tightening up the procedures for both of those committees and make them very similar, because those are really the two committees that we have that help us to make our decisions as we go forward. So, yes. Ms. Rose.
I want to have a question of the superintendent. When you say the policies and procedures on this, are these that we're hearing now not according to the procedures, or?
The procedure, and I don't have it in front of me, but the procedure really, as it talks about having the committee pull together all of the resumes, discuss, take a look, make a recommendation to the superintendent, which then comes up as a recommendation to be voted upon.
So the procedures say, the policy, the procedures say that the committee brings the names forward.
Right.
Thank you.
So
unlike the audit committee.
Right. And so, I think someone said it, but another way that I know I've seen it is each board member bringing their two people to the table, and then you still have 10, but each board member then is choosing their own two instead of a vote on all 10. I've seen it that way as well at a different district, but like I said, it just depends on which way we want to go, and if we do change it, we need to work on the procedures and make sure that they're changed properly.
Ms. Truitt.
Yes, thank you. If I could just add to what Dr. Asplin said, the way it's written in the operating procedures is either school board members or committee members can make recommendations for membership.
Okay, any other discussion?
Yes, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, your name is not here. I must have erased it by mistake. Ms. Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two pieces, please. I'm in full favor of Pam Truitt staying as leadership of the committee. You've done a wonderful job, and I thank you for that, and hope that that is long-lasting. I am in agreement with Mr. Edwards with the changes that are going to inevitably occur on the board, that we give opportunity for new board members to invest in this and look to understand, revisit the process of selection, as well as the pieces that Mrs. Ziegler shared. So I'm in favor of postponing. Thank you.
Mr. Edwards.
Aside from thanking Pam Truitt for her hard work on this, I also want to make sure that the candidates that were put forward, if it goes the way it sounds like it's going to go, don't take offense to the fact that they weren't voted for, because they can still be considered, and hopefully they won't take it personally. It's really more the procedure that's in question and the timing and what brought us to that conversation. So I hope those candidates understand it's for it's not for them to take it personal.
Okay. So hearing no other discussion, I think we should withdraw this motion. That would be the cleanest way to do it.
As long as the person who made the motion and the person who made the second are comfortable
Agree.
with that, that's the cleanest parliamentary procedure.
And that was Shirley Brown.
I regretfully withdraw the motion.
And I agree to withdraw my
I
second.
couldn't remember who did the second. I thought it was me. Okay, so we've withdrawn that. Thank you, Pam Truitt. As always, wonderful job, and we'll go forward and get back to you all very, very soon with some details.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that is the end of new business. I have a few announcements, and then I'll turn that over to some other people who may have a few. The next regular board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 16 at 6 p.m. That's our normal next board meeting time. We will not have our workshop next week as we normally would, because that's beginning of school, and school starts on the 10th. So we will not have a board meeting or a workshop of anything scheduled next week. The next board work session will be scheduled the day after the Tuesday, August 16th board meeting on Wednesday, August 17th at 9 a.m., and it will be a full-day meeting. Mr. Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make a few comments. Last week, I did attend the 2 days of training for the professional learning communities. I'm very, very excited about what I saw. I think the content is brilliant, and I'm so proud that I voted for this program, because it's life-changing, for lack of a better word, for the school district. And I'm really looking forward to this school year. And thank you to the Barancic Foundation for providing us those 2 days of training in the location that we had. It was, and the camaraderie, I can't say enough. The enthusiasm of everyone being together after the pandemic was palpable. People hadn't seen each other for a long time, and the teachers and principals that haven't seen each other really enjoyed the camaraderie. So I want to say that was awesome. This morning, I was part of welcoming 250 new teachers to the school district for next week. And this afternoon, I attended the transportation welcome. And all of that put together is such a great view and vantage point. And all I can tell you is I think we're about ready to have an outstanding school year. So welcome to the students, thank you to the teachers, thank you to everybody, all the administrators. We're looking forward to a great new year.
Mrs. Brown.
I have two comments. One, probably a clarification from the superintendent. I've been getting emails or calls from parents regarding the COVID protocols for the coming year, and I understand that, due to, the new laws that were passed, the Department of Health does not require us to report, or they won't be reporting to us, so we do not have to report or isolate anyone. It's on a voluntary basis on those who test positive, and we will not be having our COVID dashboard or anything like that anymore. And so parents who may be looking for that, it won't be here, and you just have to watch closely your own children. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. It looks like everything regarding COVID would be regarded as any other sickness. So
it's like a flu
or anything else that we normally would deal with student absences and teacher absences or employee absences. If you're sick, don't come to work. and it would be treated like every other sickness. So.
Yeah, just like they were watching for the flu. I've also received several calls or emails regarding, we talk about politics and how negative some things can be, and I've received emails from people that are getting, "Dear NPA voters," and they talk about 3 candidates who are running for school board who are BLM, PSL, I don't think they mean pumpkin spice latte, I'm not sure what PSL is, Antifa rioters. I would assume that's probably the African-American running they're talking about, Ms. Singleton. Planned Parenthood baby killers, Ms. Kernoff worked for Planned Parenthood, and wanted grooming and pornography in our schools.
Mr. Wilson,
we talk
please.
about negative campaigning, but I think that pales, and I would truly like to see even those who are mentioned that this is who you should vote for denounce it, because it pales when you talk about negative campaigning, when you start calling somebody baby killers and Antifa. Name calling is one thing, but I think that went beyond the pale. And I think school board elections are really not the place for that kind of vitriol.
Ms. Rose.
On a positive note, I too attended the professional development with a full house of teachers and staff, and with a strong background in professional learning communities as a principal and a teacher for the community. Professional learning communities are what are the best practices that our teachers are employing in their planning time collaboratively together to benefit students and achievement. And I do challenge Dr. Asplin on a regular basis to have positive deliberation, and one of those challenges was where we are going with professional learning communities. So it's necessary for me to say that Dr. Asplin, your team, and Mary Ellen Asplin, who led the team, I was beyond impressed. The rhyme, the rhythm, the direction, the focus was phenomenal, and I commend you. The 24 points that our teachers grew and that you led in the Florida recognition A grade, I'm sure will continue to grow. And I, as well, on behalf of our teachers and staff, would like to thank the Barancic Foundation. I think the teachers and staff and I, as well, enjoyed the opportunity to house that many staff, get together, and be at the Ritz. It was well deserved. Our superintendent and our staff conquered the amazing feats with last year's achievement, and I do want to recognize all for that and for the invitation. I very much enjoyed it. Thank you.
Dr. Asplin.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I wanted to just make sure that we were clear on one item. I think it was Ms. Posey's comment. I just want to make sure that we're clear. Her email to me today was about, I think it was item 26. Yes, item 26. And she was asking about a piece in the contract that was, it said FSBA, in which we were talking about behavior analysts and what did the FS stand for. And in my reply to Ms. Posey, I put that it was a behavior specialist and so on and so forth. And then later on, and I didn't get to email it to you because I was in another meeting, but later on what I found was the FS stands for the name of the company, Full Spectrum. So it's Full Spectrum Behavior Analyst. So that's what that was for. I just want to make sure that I cleared that up. All right, thank you.
There's more than one acronym for things, unfortunately, today. Many times in a class, you have whole 2 pages of acronyms. Ms. Sigler.
Thank you so much. So I have a question, and as we approach next week, I wanted to make sure, and I know we mentioned this at the top, is that we have been, the communications, we've been pushing out the free and reduced lunch questionnaire. And are we seeing a good response back? Okay, thank you. Because I know that there has been, after that vote, there's been a lot of questions and concerns. So I'm glad to hear that we're continuing to do that. And then finally, I know that at our last the budget tentative hearing, there was a discussion as far as our surplus money. And it seems that has created a lot of interest, and understandably so. And it appeared and sounded as though, I know that it was not out of order by way of procedural standpoint. It did appear that this entire board did support increasing the allocation for classroom supplies for teachers, and especially as we have our teachers already back. I wanted to see, I know we have a workshop in August, but in my mind, I think it would bode well for our morale, the start of school, and what have you, to get a better understanding of when we would have that decision, since it seemed to fall more on procedural misunderstandings and lack thereof. So if I could get, or if we could discuss that now, but I know August 17th would be the next time we'd have that opportunity. But I've had a number of calls and questions about it, and so wanted to get some insight as to how we could move that along.
And you're talking about the teacher lead money, correct?
Well, teacher leads through the state, so I'm talking about our direct allocation. So not teacher lead.
Or $280 that we get to each teacher is what
So that's through that's the state pass-through allocation. I'm talking about using our surplus money to earmark the $1 million to give that directly to our classroom teachers for supplies, because again, I don't know if any of you all have received that. They continue to get bombarded with the costs of supplies. So
I just want to make sure I was in the right category.
Yeah, understood.
So Ms. Penner and I were talking about this, and I know Thursday we have a discussion set for our senior cabinet, which is our assistant superintendent meeting that we have, about that. The $1 million, with 2,800 teachers is around $350 each. That's what it comes to. And if you're talking about 350 in addition to the 280, is that what you're saying? Or bring it up to 350?
No, in addition.
Okay. And so that's the conversation that we're having on Thursday, just to make sure that that is something that we could certainly do. And then whatever it is that we do come up with, including having extra interventionists, so to speak, in classrooms helping our students one-to-one or in small group instruction and reading, those are items that we want to add as we did in that PowerPoint, the last PowerPoint you saw, but add that to the lines so that you can vote on it properly.
Thank you. So we'll be able to, when we discuss on August 17th, is that the right date, when we have that workshop, those will be more explicitly lined out, so it won't be. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Just so you know, too, Ms. Ziegler, over the last couple of weeks, we had already been talking to the principals about adding more teachers to them, given the fact that we have additional dollars. And so that conversation has occurred with the principals. We've been having that conversation. So I guess what I'm saying is we're in agreement with what you want to do. I guess the big question is, by how much money do you want to do it? And so, $3 million, you're looking at around, I think it was around 30 teachers versus $5 million because you're around $85,000 per teacher is how you just, figure that out. So looking at 30 teachers across the board, that would be, for elementary schools and middle schools, for instance, or do we look at the Title I? So I had a special conversation with our Title I principals about that specific conversation. And so we've been talking about it for a couple weeks. Definitely, I'm on board with that because the more teachers you can put in front of students, the better. And so that's the conversation we'll be having on Thursday to give you some real numbers as far as what we think needs to happen, given principal input as well.
And if I may follow up just very briefly, and when we have the discussion on August 17th, and again, as I deferred, it was more of an earmark to leave it to administration to figure out the most optimal way to utilize that, so that would have the most impact, but to set those dollars aside, in particular, as we look at the lower quartile and our new teachers, trying to find ways to retain them, thinking outside of the box where we're not just going into actual, yes, additional human beings in the classroom, whether it be aides or what have you, and supports, but other mechanisms of which we can boost up or create incentives for those areas, and that's where I would like to discuss.
Ms. Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do, and I definitely feel the need to reinforce the teacher supply piece. It would be nice if there was some kind of conclusion or ballpark of where we're landing with teachers coming back. All board members got an email from a teacher, particularly focusing in on new teachers, which not everyone realizes, walking into a classroom and there's nothing in there. Nothing, and I can speak to that. And I walked into my first new classroom in 1988 and actually was shocked that there was nothing in there. And even at that time, I spent $400 just to get my classroom up and running, and that was in 1988. So I think that I can't overemphasize if we want to recruit and retain, it's a relatively small gesture to provide resources to supplement classrooms, which actually supplements achievement, and to help new teachers, given that we have so many, have classrooms that are inviting and high quality. So I would like to reinforce that. I feel like it's still up in the air and teachers are returning, and I see it as a relatively easy piece and quite a valid piece. Thank you.
Ms. Brown.
I again want to say that, we need to look at that. And I think especially the new teachers, we're hearing the new teachers, they walk into a classroom and there's a desk and perhaps desks and chairs, and nothing, not so much as a stapler, a tape dispenser. I mean, we know they were there the year before. I mean, maybe when we're clearing everything out, we ought to be thinking about that. I mean, at the very least, there should be these basic staples staples and other staples should be in a classroom when a teacher starts. That just doesn't make any sense to me not to have those things. And I think maybe some of those things, maybe we ought to look at. I don't know how the warehouse went away and why all of that, but we're still getting complaints about that.
It's not coming
So if you
back.
could look at that again.
I think we'll look at this on the 17th. That's the appropriate time for it. I think we have to address that issue at that time. We are all in favor of helping teachers. Anyone who thinks we are not. That is a fallacy. We are all in favor of helping teachers. So I just want to make that statement loud and clear. Mr. Edwards.
I would suggest until we get to this, which all sounds like we're all ready to have that conversation of some sort, I would suggest teachers hold on to their receipts in the meantime.
Exactly. So with that, and being the end of a elongated comment section, we are adjourned. And next up, we have our general comments.
Diane Cotting, Norm Wirtz on deck, and I really appreciate your indulgence. I really am trying to make sure that people stay on agenda items, and you can count on me to do that in the future, and I look forward to hearing about the survey and their results.
Hi, my name's Diane Cotting, and I'm a concerned citizen who has been a teacher. Oh, I'm short. Thank you. I'm a concerned citizen who has been a teacher and hold 2 degrees in education. I have many friends who are active teachers and have shared to me their stress they feel on their jobs, especially going forward into the new school year. Of most importance has been the recurring issue of how they should do their jobs going forward, given the new rules, which are often vague and can have confusing guidelines and language. Thank you.
Mary Ellen Palermo on deck.
Hello, Norman Wirtz, concerned citizen. I find teachers are demoralized. They don't know what to wear, what to say, what to teach. They're scared and reticent and inhibited to answer truthfully as they ponder if the response would be deemed illegal. Students need to be taught how to think, not what to think. Students have inquiring minds and should be encouraged to ask questions, and teachers need to be able to answer without retribution or the thought of being sued. Please beware of truth decay. I stole that line from a church up in New Hampshire, but I think we've got to be careful of truth decay is a very bad disease that we need to avoid. And it's what's happening now because of these repressive laws. Thank you.
Michael Schlasko on deck. Dr. Rebecca Lees. You're up.
You didn't call my name before.
I just did, because people have thinned out. So Angela Nguyen, you're on deck.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to speak, and good evening. And being a retired teacher of 35 years, I think the public needs to know more about the great training that teachers go through to be a teacher. They study their baccalaureate degree, and then they have to go through student teaching, which is very stressful. And then once they get out into the profession, of course, they're asked to keep getting their continued education. And the dedication is incredible. It's a labor of love, teaching. People go into it because they love to teach children, and they just like the whole idea of teaching. And I'm concerned about the negativity being promoted everywhere, it seems today, against teachers. And I hear things like, well, people only go into that profession because they went off in the summer. I never had off in the summer. I had to get other jobs in the summer, and then I taught summer school in the summer, but I never had off in the summer. And I just think our teachers are wonderful people, and they deserve support. And I am greatly troubled by the things that teachers are being called, and even those of us that are retired are being called in regards to the politics of everything today. So let's be positive. Thank you.
Christine Hervig on deck.
Good evening. My name is Angela Nguyen, and I'm one of the founding members of Support Our Schools. I'm speaking to Agenda Item 8 with regard to the hiring of staff and vacancies still left to fill. One of the tenets of SOS is to support teachers by listening to and responding to their needs. I stand here today to do just that. Respond to the needs being expressed to us from Sarasota County teachers by being their voice and sharing their experiences, because if they do it, they could face retribution and possibly lose their jobs. Florida has a teacher shortage nearing 10,000. Let me repeat that. We have 10,000 teacher vacancies in Florida, with more on the way. And why is this? Florida lawmakers have turned classrooms meant for learning and expanding the minds of our youth into places full of uncertainty and anxiety. With the passage of bills like the Don't Say Gay bill and the Stop Woke Act, teachers are being forced to walk a tightrope without a net in an environment that is becoming more stressful by the day. They are stressed out and distraught, not knowing if something they say or do will cause a parent to sue them, or whether voicing their concerns will cause them to lead to their termination. Excuse me, I'm dry. If that isn't reason enough, combined with the well-known fact that Florida pays our teachers one of the lowest average salaries in the country, 48th, by the way, is it any wonder that our educators are leaving in droves? They're over.
In 1954, I think it was, Eric Hoffer wrote a book called The True Believer, and he wrote that it was about how people are manipulated to join mass movements. He wrote, it's not necessary that they believe in God, but they must believe in a devil. And I'm sick of the teachers being demonized by politicians who use terms like culture wars, woke mob, CRT, and making children who may be gay or questioning their gender just feel terrible and not wanted in society. And there's being the people that are being manipulated like this are being, they're a small but very vocal and often aggressive base, and it's destructive, it's demoralizing to the educators, and it shortchanges the students that we care about. And I support the teachers. Thank you.
Louise Machinist, Margaret Smith on deck.
Hi, I'm a concerned citizen. I was going to help present the survey results, but it's been decided that that'll be presented to you in a different way, I think. But I just want to say I want to support the teachers too, and I want to echo all of the supportive comments that were just made by people who are within the education profession. Thank you, that's all.
Janet Zipper and Paulina Testerman on deck.
Good evening. My name is Paulina Testerman. I'm one of the founding members of Support Our Schools. In the past few weeks, I've had the opportunity to connect with many Sarasota County public school teachers. The stories that they have shared with me are heartbreaking. Many teachers are struggling to find reason to continue to teach. I've encouraged these teachers to speak up, to advocate for themselves, but the answer was consistent time and time again. Teachers are scared to speak out because they fear the repercussions. Specifically, they fear being fired. With laws being passed in Florida that open the door for teachers being sued, many teachers are choosing silence over advocacy. We at SOS find this new narrative concerning. Historically, education has always been a trinity between students, teachers, and parents. But nowadays, there has been an orchestrated movement to vilify teachers, and we as a community are opposed to this. Our teachers are some of the most hardworking, selfless, and caring individuals. Teaching has long been seen as a noble profession. Why has that changed? I'd like to take a moment to read one of the emails that I received from a local teacher. It's important to make sure that teachers' voices are heard. She said, in April 2020, teachers were revered for their ability to keep 15 to 25 Florida school-aged children engaged online. During 2021 school year, there was still admiration for the work we did. 21 to 22 turned on its ear. Teachers were reviled for their indoctrination, woke instructions, among other topics. I received countless letters like this. They broke my heart. If our community wants to know what is happening in schools, they need to show up and volunteer in classrooms. Teachers in schools are in desperate need of help, and that has never been more apparent than today. In spite of the school board's tireless efforts, Sarasota County Schools starts this school year with a teacher shortage. Maybe if teachers were given the respect that they deserve, they wouldn't be walking away from this profession. Thank you.
Carol Lerner, Reverend Lily Brock on deck.
Good evening. I'm here tonight as a concerned citizen. I'm here tonight to support Sarasota teachers, and all the people that you see in the room in red are here tonight to support teachers. Now, I was in education and public education for over 30 years in 3 different states, and I must say I always felt valued, respected. I was fairly compensated. I was able to make professional decisions. Today, teachers feel devalued, disrespected. They can't even afford to live in the community that they work in. And they feel that they've been stripped of making professional decisions. Not by the district here. The beef is not with the district. It's what has happened in Tallahassee. And I'll tell you, the teachers, I just think back when I worked in schools. I would put in often 10-hour days, and I'd go home and put in 2 more hours, 3 more hours sometimes. Not every day, but very often. And I know the teachers here are doing the same. I would often go to sleep tonight with just thoughts of a child who didn't seem to have any friends, or another child who seemed depressed. It's heavy duty working as a teacher. it's tough. And with these kind of attacks, it's really hard. I know we have had teachers call us in tears. They're scared. They're afraid. They're not afraid of the school district per se. They're afraid that the school district is being put in a position, a horrible position, that they have to enforce things that they don't want to enforce. And that's ugly. That is really ugly. Thank you.
Alan Heineman on deck.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. My name's Lily Brock, and I am a duly educated and ordained pastor. But my voice tonight, as always as a pastor, but as a lesbian pastor, and to provide you with a voice, I hope, of teachers and students that maybe you don't hear from very often. As a pastor who's been doing this for 20 years, I literally have a file in my drawer of hundreds of LGBTQ students who have felt threatened and targeted at school. And if we think that they don't matter or that they can't go to a teacher, many of whom have helped those students not commit suicide or other ugly things, then I think we are really misguided. I also want to speak as a person of faith who wonders how we have laws that would target young people who are simply trying to find their way and not provide support and help and affirmation to teachers who are trying to help them. I also hear from teachers from the LGBTQ community who now don't know if they can talk about their partners, their wives, their husbands, because those are legal entities for them to have, and yet they can't speak about them, or they think that it's going to be a problem. We've heard about these retributions. Now, I just want to ask that as we cut religion and politics, and you cut school and politics, that we try our best to remember there are real kids here who can be in trouble, and they're real teachers who could also be in trouble. I know you have to support the laws, but I hope you'll find some safety nets.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David Spector on deck. Karen Hamblin on deck.
Hi, I'm Alan Heineman, and I'm a grandparent of 2 students in the district. I'm speaking to you today to ask that you support the teachers of this district who are trying to instruct the children in a time that can only be described as chaotic and complicated. Things are so much simpler when I was growing up. We learned how Lincoln freed the slaves, but nothing about Jim Crow laws or the Tulsa Massacre of 1921. Every book had only white people in it. If we thought another kid was gay, we called them fruits behind their back, and the bullies did it to their face. We were oblivious and narrow-minded to the real world in our own straight white world. It was not so much a time of innocence as it was a time of ignorance. Please support our teachers as they try to present a world of diversity and a world of inclusion, a world that has struggled with its past but can learn from it. I want my grandchildren to be taught to be full of integrity and to be compassionate human beings. Thank you.
Michelle Posey on deck.
Dr. Asplin, school board members, audience, I am a teacher. And I'm not here to speak for the teachers. I'm here to speak for the students. I want to speak about extracurricular activities. Lots of studies have been concluded on the relationships between extracurricular activities and academic performances, and they all show that students who participate in them have higher grades, more positive attitudes towards school, and higher academic aspirations. Studies also show that students who can participate in these extracurricular activities have greater character development, self-esteem, more positive social development, and a sense of belonging, which contributes to mental health. According to the National Center on Educational Statistics, students who participate in extracurricular activities have fewer unexcused absences, more students don't skip class, more students with higher quartile in math and reading scores, more students obtain a bachelor's degree or higher. I'm asking that this board set aside 1 hour a week or month so that every student has the same opportunity. And I'm talking about the students who ride a bus. I'm the FBLA sponsor at Riverview High School. My club is very active, but we start at 2:30. I have many students that I see eye to eye every day that would do extremely well and could be elevated in this club, but they can't because they ride a school bus, which leaves at 2:15. Or they have to go home because they have obligations, whether it's taking care of their siblings or helping, at this point, helping mom and dad put food on the table. So there is no reason that we cannot implement 1 hour a week or a month. If it's just a month, make sure these kids have the same opportunity, because when we're not giving that to them, we're telling them they don't matter. We're creating a division here that is contributing to this gap that we're seeing in our community. So I'm asking that this district, as I have asked for 10 years, some of you know this already, I've asked for 10 years. Thank you.
Sebastian Martinez on deck.
Michelle Posey, District 3. I am here to say that even though we have legislation that never in any way said that we didn't love our teachers, we obviously love our teachers, and we love our parents, we love all of our educators. I did notice with all the excitement of back to school, we have some new additions here in the boardroom, and I was a little bit shocked because we have some media here. You know, we have been through as a community an illegal mask mandate. We've had parents shut down and silenced and removed, not given their First Amendment right. We had a little hot mic rap incident with Shirley. We still have obscene material on our bookshelves, and we've actually been called out as the #1 district in Florida for school safety. Thank you, Chief Tim Enos, for what you've done there. But none of this really gets coverage, so I'm not sure what drew them here today, but I'm grateful that we have them here. I just wonder where the media was at large when the community needed our help to get some transparency in the boardroom and to report real violations of rights. You know, our community has a wide variety of residents. We believe they all deserve a voice and they deserve to be represented. I hope that the media's attendance here today is just the beginning of them doing their job consistently moving forward. And nothing makes people feel more alienated than misrepresenting legislation from Tallahassee. I too have spoken to many teachers. They get it. They're just not supposed to talk about sex, gender identity to children that are really, really young. And they get that because they're happy that now there's a framework there that says that's what they're to do. So I'm excited to celebrate a new school year. Thank you very much.
Sally Nista on deck.
Is that on? I have no idea. Okay, sorry. Good evening. My name is Sebastian Martinez. I'm the chairman and founder of Sarasota Youth Association. Being a graduated student from Booker High School, I'm still closely tied to my high school and my peers. I want to express how saddening our district has become and how so many of your teachers don't want to be here. The further down we go, especially since it's an election year, educators are becoming the face of political battlegrounds, being accused of indoctrinating, grooming, or ruining public education, when in reality, the partisan politicians pushing that message are the root of that issue. Educators are being portrayed as enemy of families, as the enemy of the state. As a district, you must do more to understand where your teachers are at and what they need, to understand your students. They spent last year burnt out and tired. You need to clarify if you stand by your teachers and students or their perpetrators and prove it. You want to know how your educators feel, ask them without having them need to risk their employment. You want your educators respected, stop attacking them, stop using partisan political talking points to amp up a voter base. Stop succumbing them to being threatened, demeaned, or cussed at. You want your educators to stop leaving? Give them a reason to stay. Raise their pay so they don't have to have 2 or 3 jobs so that they can afford to live in this county. Provide them with the resources they need to properly teach and bring back respect to teachers. Teachers teach engineers, they teach lawyers, they taught your administrators. Everyone is taught by someone. Your teachers already go through enough. Not only do I understand them wanting to leave education, but I urge them to if the situation doesn't better. They don't need you, you need them. Thank you for your time.
Teresa DeWitt on deck.
Sally Nista, support our Constitution. A letter arrived from a principal welcoming everyone back and giving a brief overview of changes to a new school this year. It was shared with me by a friend. The letter states that a safety protocol has been put in place that parents are not allowed on campus for the first few weeks of school. When did parents become part of a safety protocol? So you are indoctrinating teachers and administrators to believe that parents are terrorists? Parents aren't a risk to our school district. They are your bosses. Parents were also reminded that they can only walk their children to classroom doors for the first 3 days. Why is that? Parents don't want to stay and drink coffee. They want to make sure their child is safe and comfortable. They want to develop a rapport with the teacher. They want to see the environment that their child is going to be in for the next 6+ hours. This protocol stops the parent from seeing what is happening in the classroom. Why? Are you hiding something from them? It makes you wonder, doesn't it? This policy also does not allow for children with anxiety and attachment issues. You're going to spend, foolishly, hundreds of thousands of dollars on mental health program this year. Save taxpayer money and allow the best mental health providers, the parents, to do their job. By the way, please show me a policy that the parents can't walk their children to class. It probably came from some guidelines that were ushered in without knowledge of the parents or the community, just like the equity nonsense. Lastly, it amazes me that as a board, you can sit there in charge of a budget of over 1.2 billion, and you can't afford to pay for supplies in the classroom, or cover food costs of school lunches, or give bonuses to your core workforce, the teachers. There seems to be money for retiring school board members to have their summer excursions paid for, but you can't find $300 for teacher supplies? Let's put teachers and students first rather than administrators.
Thank you.
Board
John
members.
Wilson on deck.
Okay, Teresa DeWitt. Tonight I'm not wearing my mom hat. I'm coming to you as a licensed clinician who has worked in juvenile detention centers, in-home family services, independent living coordinator of 6 counties in the state of Maryland and Virginia for children in foster care, 5 years providing family therapy in a psychiatric facility, therapist in a therapeutic day treatment, as well as a traditional school-based therapist in a 7A school of 5,000 students. Also private practice for 10 years and a trainer. I have conducted over 5,000 process groups for ages 4 to 17. I have addressed this school district repeatedly on the SEL program. This district has decided to move forward with exposing our children to Character Strong. This program has continued their partnership with Panorama. Now, the update on Panorama is they are now under investigation in the state of Missouri for creating surveys for third parties to probe students on their sexuality, political views, parents' income, and racially based questions. Now, who could a third party be? Possibly Character Strong? Dr. Asplin, have you told the parents why they need to complete surveys twice a year for their children? Do they realize this info is needed to complete the application for accreditation for CASEL? And I say that word loosely. CASEL is the gatekeeper for pulling down the federal dollars. Why is the district determined to push SEL in elementaries when the children can't read? Are you going to tell the parents how the surveys are completed? Teachers, get ready. The training you are being given is not what it seems. Teachers are going to find themselves in the middle of potential crisis by trying to conduct what we call in therapy a process group. You will have no informed consent and therefore working outside the scope of your license. Again, teachers are being used and abused by administration to collect children's data to promote a problem that the federal government has a solution for. This district not only picked an agenda-driven program, you have instructed your principals to combine a state-mandated, and I say that loosely, with substance abuse videos and a pilot program, Character Strong. Yesterday, parents were told it was all mandatory. It did not offer an opt-out. This is a complete lie. Where is the SEL opt-out form? It has come to my attention
Thank you.
that Jane
Alexis
and Dan
Spiegelman
would
on
like
deck.
another opt-out.
John Wilson. First off, Jane, I've seen you shut down many people here on speaking. So when we have another board member talking about nonsense, I expect you to act like the chair of the board and shut them down. Okay. The other thing is, everybody wants respect. But you know what? I didn't see any respect from the board majority when it came to the unvaccinated teachers and classified employees. The same 90% of these people that are here now that want to support the teachers, those are the ones that was like a Salem witch hunt for the ones that weren't vaccinated or they didn't want masks. So let's just look at it and call it what it is. On another note, I'm going to go back and be like, the whole little horse and pony show that was here, May 13th, about reading recovery, it's excellent. It was an excellent little show. But here, let's take a look at reading recovery. It's been here since, 2016 full-time. In 2017, the third graders in this county were 71% of 3 and above. Now, go to the eighth graders that are now eighth graders. They're down to 60% in ELA. 2018, third graders, 68%. Now let's go to the seventh graders that are seventh graders now. 57% of them passed the FCAT or the FSA. 2019 third graders, 70%. Those are sixth graders now, 60%. Love the growth. But you know what? I've never sold any wine. So I know that we don't keep paying for something that doesn't work. And instead of getting rid of what doesn't work, the reading programs that don't work, we're going to get more reading programs. And we're just going to keep making the beast bigger instead of getting rid of the junk and infusing better programs.
Patricia Perone on deck.
Hello, my name's Alexis Spiegelman, Moms for Liberty, Sarasota. I'd like to say we also support our teachers and encourage them to keep giving us all of their anonymous tips about things that are happening in the district that they don't feel like they can talk about freely because they fear retribution from our district. I wanted to also ask, in light of what Ms. DeWitt brought up, if we will have access to the SELS surveys, the social emotional learning surveys. Recently at the ASCA, the American School Counselors Association 2022 annual conference, they taught school counselors to use CRT in K-12 education and how data collection should be viewed through the equity lens. When we see all of this push for mental health and the federal dollars for more mental health, but then we hear that inside the mental health world, they're pushing for CRT and they're corrupting social emotional learning, which was built on a good premise, but has been co-opted by those who want to use it to indoctrinate. I think that we just are concerned. And again, I think that if you were to just post these things online and give the community access, many people would probably not feel the need to come here constantly. We would just, trust but verify. So in light of what has been brought up about the legislation, this, what you did not put into your plan that I was speaking about earlier, you omitted this part, which comes from the Stop Woke Act. And I don't know why anyone would have a problem with this. The legislature acknowledges the fundamental truth that all persons are equal before the law and have inalienable rights. Accordingly, instruction and supporting materials on the topics enumerated in this section must be consistent with the following principles of individual freedom. No person is inherently racist, sexist, or oppressive, whether consciously or unconsciously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ren Gibbs, you're on deck.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Patricia Perone. I am here as a concerned citizen and as a retired teacher and former administrator from the state of Connecticut. I've lived in Sarasota County for the past 6 years. This is my first meeting here, however, so I'm a little nervous. I'm here to express my unequivocal support for the beleaguered teachers in Sarasota County as they begin another school year, tough school year. Stop vilifying teachers. Let teachers teach and support our schools. And I know that you have that in you because you do this job. I've spoke before school boards before and given reports, so I know what a tough job that you have. Teachers are trying to create a better democracy than the one that exists outside of school, one where we don't have kids screaming at one another because they have a difference of opinion. So, in support of the teachers in Sarasota, I say stop the constant criticism in education and let teachers teach. Support our schools. Thank you.
My name is Bren Gibbs. Repent. This is a word not often used in our modern English, except in a Judeo-Christian context. Repent can mean to apologize and say you're sorry for something. It can mean to stop a certain kind of action and not do it again, or at least try. Repentance is not a bad or dirty word. It is a gift. It allows you a second chance. It gives you the opportunity to stop doing things the wrong way and start doing things the right way. It can change the course of your life, destiny, happiness, quality of life. One meaning of repent means to change the way you think. God reminds us in Isaiah 55:8, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways." This is a heavenly Father telling his kids that he sees a bigger picture of things, and his way of thinking is much more mature, wise, and advanced than his kids. This is a creator telling his creation, which he designed, that he knows more about how they are to function than the creation even does. God is the one that uses this term, repent. Change the way you think. It is a gift for you and me to yield to and learn from the ultimate teacher, the ultimate creator, the ultimate Father, and to change our way of thinking to the best way to think, God's way. Many need to stop acting like they are God and repent before they're God. It is time to repent for suppressing students, families, and teachers from the freedom of religion, to have the right to choose to think and speak the way their God, Creator, and Heavenly Father teaches them to, instead of the way others may want them to. In major points, that's even contrary to their own religion.
Madam Chair, that concludes our general comments. Thank you all for those comments.
Thank you all for staying here tonight, and have a nice evening, and we are adjourned.